All of you back? Yes, let's discuss a few MCQs, right? Let's look into a few MCQs. I'll be putting up the question, then you can, once you finish seeing the options, you can consider what is the option. Tell me what is the correct option according to you, and then we will check it with what is the correct answer over there. Okay. Case laws also we'll discuss. Case law based MCQ tomorrow. Today, plain. Like every day, I've kept an agenda for discussion. Right, so today we'll do the general ones because case law, when the story is only so big. You know, the story which they write, like we studied Bharat Bank and those. But yeah, certainly tomorrow we'll see few of those also. Right. These are like very simple. In half an hour, I don't know how many of these we can finish over here. Okay. Right. So Dash, along with other disciplines such as accounting and law, equips you with all the knowledge that is required to enter into auditing as a profession. Right, auditing. So we have no relationship of auditing with other disciplines. So auditing along with other discipline. No business or institution can effectively carry on its activities without the help of proper both A and B. No a business or institution can effectively carry on its activities without the help of proper records and accounts. Okay, next one. As per SA 200, overall objectives of the independent auditor in conducting an audit, the audit of financial statements, the overall objectives of the auditor are to obtain reasonable assurance and to report on the financial statements. Okay, right, dash related to an audit of financial statements, right, the fundamental principles relevant, which of the following as a fundamental principle of the ethics? Professional judgment, professional skepticism, professional intelligence, or professional competence and due care? Yes, PCDC, है ना? That's the professional competence and the due care. The auditor's dash safeguards the auditor's ability to form an audit opinion without being affected by any influences. The auditor's independence. Okay. Next one, which of the following is the responsibility of the auditor? Preparation, presentation of financial statements, design, implementation, maintenance of control, express an opinion, or to obtain limited assurance. So express an opinion. Okay. An employee of Fruits and Vegetables Limited was of the opinion that auditor of the company is required to express an opinion. On which of one of the following is the auditor required to express an opinion? Right? Only balance sheet, only P&L, only cash flow? No, the financial statements of the company. The auditors of Delicious Sweets was of the opinion that objective of audit of a company is to provide reasonable assurance that financial statements of that company are free from dash misstatement. It has to be dash. So simple, material, easy, or competent. They have to be free from the material misstatement. Okay. If the auditor concludes that there is a reasonable justification to change the engagement, and if the audit work was performed complied with the essays applicable to the changed engagement, the report issued would be appropriate for the revised terms of the engagement. SA 210, acceptance of a change in terms of engagement. In order to avoid confusion, the report would not include reference to the original engagement or any procedures that may be performed in original engagement, the original engagement, any procedures that may be performed in original engagement, or the original engagement and any procedures that may be performed in the original engagement, right? So the original engagement or right, any procedures that may be performed in the original engagement. Okay. If an auditor is unable to agree to the change in the terms of engagement and is not permitted by the management to continue the engagement, the auditor shall withdraw from the engagement, determine whether there is any legal obligation, withdraw from the engagement and determine whether there is any legal obligation, or withdraw from the engagement or determine whether there is any legal obligation. Right, or and so withdraw from the engagement and determine whether there is any legal or professional responsibility. Okay, a request from the client for the auditor to change the engagement, request terms of engagement may request result from a change in circumstances, a misunderstanding as to the nature of audit, or a restriction on the scope of the engagement, whether imposed by management or caused by circumstances. 1 and C. 1, 2, 3. Right, so all of this 1, 2, 3, that is all three. You know, it could be due to change in circumstances or a misunderstanding or a restriction. Okay, SQC 1 provides that Unless otherwise specified by law, regulation, audit documentation is property of management, TCWG, management or TCWG, or it is the property of the auditor. So unless specified by law, regulation, audit documentation is the property of the auditor. As per SA 200, right? What assurance is obtained? Reasonable assurance that financial statements are free from material misstatement. Okay. Dash sets the scope, timing, and direction of the audit and guides the development of the more detailed plan. And today we discussed that. No, some of you said something else before that. Right? Dash sets the scope, timing, and direction of the audit that guides the development of the more detailed audit plan, the overall audit strategy. Okay. Next one. Planning is a continuous process of an audit and not a discrete phase of the audit. Okay. Right. Read the two statements and tell me which of the two is correct. Both are correct, both are incorrect, or what is it? Establishment of audit strategy and the audit plan are not necessarily discrete or sequential process but are closely interrelated. Auditor shall establish an audit strategy that guides the development of the audit plan, right? So both these statements are correct. Which of the following is not addressed by audit strategy? Monitoring, because scope, timing, and direction of the audit, so monitoring is not covered. Okay, right. The overall audit strategy and the audit plan remain the auditor's responsibility, right? It remains the auditor's responsibility. Determining a percentage to be applied to a chosen benchmark involves the exercise of professional judgment, right? It involves the exercise of professional judgment. Okay, which of the following is not an example of a benchmark in determining materiality? Right, audit program, that cannot be a benchmark. Okay, right, which of the following is correct? The auditor shall establish an audit plan? No, 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 no. D also, auditor shall establish an audit plan? No. The auditor shall establish an audit strategy that sets the scope, timing, and direction of the audit, and there is no need to guide the development. No, 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 no. Auditor shall establish an audit strategy that sets the scope, timing, and direction, and that guides the development of the audit plan. Okay. Planning an audit involves establishing the overall audit strategy, developing an audit plan, or establishing overall audit plan or overall audit plan. No, establish the audit strategy and develop the audit plan, right? We discussed that today. So that is the reason I wanted to complete with those and then come over here. And we completed with the chapter over there, right? When planning the audit, where you read throughout the audit, it is not there in any one of the option also. Spontaneously. I am seeing where is throughout the audit. The auditor considers what would make the financial information materially misstatement. The auditor need not consider what would make them materially misstated. The auditor need not consider, and the auditor needs to consider what would make the financial information materially misstated while conducting audit only. Right, so obviously A, well, the auditor would considers what would make the financial statements materially misstated. So only conducting audit, nothing like that. Okay, SA 320, materiality requires that an auditor should not consider, not consider, consider. Consider materiality and its relationship with audit risk while conducting the audit, or not consider materiality, not consider materiality. Right? The auditor should consider materiality and its relationship with audit risk while conducting the audit. Okay. Which of the following is true? Internal audit plan. Now, all of a sudden, they put a question over there on internal audit plan. Should be comprehensive enough to cover enough to ensure that it helps in achieving of the overall objectives of an internal audit. Internal audit should generally be consistent with the goals and objectives of internal audit function. In case the internal audit or the particular engagement has been outsourced, the internal auditor should ensure that the plan is consistent with the terms of the engagement. Right, so obviously here it is all of the above. Okay, right, once the overall audit strategy has been established, then audit plan can be developed. Is it right? After you establish the audit strategy, then you develop the audit plan. Audit plan shall include, the auditor shall develop an audit plan that includes the description of Today we had discussed no description of the audit plan, nature, timing and extent of risk assessment procedure, further audit procedure, other planned procedures to comply with the essays, or all of the above. Okay, right. Statement 1, statement 2, which is correct, which is incorrect, or are both incorrect or both correct? Essay 505, the question is from that one. Read, don't look here and there. A response that indicates a difference between information requested to be confirmed and information provided by the confirming party is negative confirmation. No. What is that? That is a response that indicates a difference between information requested to be confirmed and information provided is an exception. I asked them to confirm 10,000, they confirm 2,000, so that's an exception. And no, this is not negative. Negative is what? When the confirming party, only when they disagree, they need to reply. Right, and a failure of the confirming party to respond or fully respond to a positive confirmation request or a confirmation request returned undelivered is an exception. No, I send a request, I don't get a response. That is called as a non-response. That is not called as an exception. So both 1 and 2 are incorrect. What is the correct definition of 1? It is the definition of exception. And second is the definition of the non-response, right? So both the definitions statements over there are incorrect. Okay. Vijay is the auditor of XYZ. During the process of assembly of the final audit file, Vijay briefed his team as to what all changes can be made to the audit documentation at that stage. Today we discussed no assembly, only administrative in nature, 60 days. Which of the following changes cannot be made to the documentation during the final assembly process? Oh, right. Right, so sorting, collating, cross-referencing, that can be done. Signing of completed checklist, yes. Deleting, discarding old documentation, yes. But recalculation of depreciation, no. That cannot be done at the assembly stage. Okay, which of the following is not correct? C. Why? Because essay 580 is regarding the 580 is regarding the written representations. Okay, right. Dash refers to the audit procedures performed to obtain an understanding of the entity and environment, including the entity's internal control, to identify and assess the RMM, right? The risk assessment procedures. Okay, next one. Audit documentation provides. And a nature and purpose of audit documentation. What are the two main purposes served by audit documentation? Evidence that the engagement and achievement of the overall objective, or that the audit was planned and performed in accordance with the SA, evidence of the achievement of overall objective and that the audit was planned and performed in accordance with the SA, or evidence about the achievement of overall objective, or evidence that audit was planned and performed in accordance with SAs. So A or B, A and B, and then only A, only B. That is how the options are. So obviously both, no? Evidence of the achievement of the overall objectives and that the audit was planned and performed in accordance with the standards and the legal regulatory requirement. Okay, next one. Which of the following is correct? Auditor shall assemble the audit documentation in an audit file and complete the administrative process of assembling the final audit file on a timely basis after the date of the audit report. Auditor shall assemble the audit documentation and shall not complete the administrative process. Auditor shall assemble the documentation and complete the administrative process before the date of the report. Auditor shall not assemble the audit documentation in audit file. Right, A. So after the date of the report, but 60 days, and it is only administrative process. Is it right? Okay. Audit evidence includes information contained in the accounting records underlying the financial statements, both information contained in accounting records and other information or information contained in accounting records or other information, right? So both information contained in the accounting records and the other information. Okay. Auditor shall design and perform audit procedures in order to identify litigation and claims. So SA 501, and audit evidence specific consideration for selected item. One of the selected item over there is what? Completeness of litigations and claim, right? Completeness of litigation and claim. So what does it say? The auditor, what audit procedure he will perform? Inquiries of management and the in-house legal counsel, review the minutes of the meeting, review the legal expenses account, or all of the above, right? So all of the above. Okay. Next one. What is the next one? If auditor is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence regarding opening balances, SA 510, the auditor shall express Give one option out of these four, na? Why you gave E? You gave E, modified opinion. Tell me out of A, B, C, D, na? It depends on whether it is material but not pervasive or whether it is material and pervasive. If 2-1, then qualified. 2-2, then disclaimer. So qualified or disclaimer. Why you thought only disclaimer? Opening balances are not available. Last year opening balances, but I am doing audit for this year. Yeah, so only opening balances, but this year closing balances are there. Why you conclude it is material and pervasive? It may not be material but not pervasive also. Opening balances are there. You are not able to obtain evidence regarding opening balances. Balances are there, but they were not audited by you, or they were audited by some predecessor auditor. So you're unable to obtain evidence regarding the opening balances. Okay. Auditor's judgment as to the sufficiency of audit evidence may be affected by factors such as sufficiency, quantity, all of the above. MRS, we had studied sufficiency of audit evidence affected by MRS, materiality, RMM, and the size and characteristics of the population. Oh, auditor has no obligation to perform any audit procedure regarding the financial statements after the date of the audit report. So SA 560, subsequent event. However, when after the date of the audit report, but before the financial statements are issued, a fact becomes known to the auditor that had it been known to the auditor at the date of the report, it would have caused the auditor to amend the audit report. The auditor shall discuss the matter with the management where appropriate, TCWG, determine whether the financial statements need amendment, inquire how management intends to address the matter in financial statements, or all of the above. Right, all of the above. Whenever auditor comes to know a fact, he has to do DDI. What is DDI? D, discuss the matter. D, determine whether the financial statements need amendment. And I, inquire as to whether the management intends to address the matter. Okay. Audit risk is a function of the risk of material misstatement and detection risk. Okay. Next one. For a given level of audit risk, the acceptable level of detection risk bears an inverse relationship to the RMM at the assertion level. Okay. Risk of material misstatement has two components, right? A financial statement level, assertion level, and in assertion level we have the inherent risk and the control risk. Controls can be dash related to an assertion, directly, indirectly, directly or indirectly, right? Directly or indirectly related to an assertion. Which of the following is incorrect? So three have to be correct, one has to be incorrect. For the purpose of identifying and assessing the RMM, the auditor shall identify the risk throughout the process of understanding the entity and environment, including control, assess the identified risk and check whether it relates pervasively to the financial statements as a whole and potentially affects many assertion, relate the identified risk to what can go wrong at the assertion level, taking account of relevant controls that auditor intends to test, not consider the likelihood of misstatement, including the possibility of multiple misstatement, and whether the potential misstatement is of a magnitude that could result in a material misstatement. Right? D, not consider. No, the not is only the problem over there. Rest everything is correct. It says consider the likelihood of the misstatement, right? So consider. What does it say? Not consider is not correct. Okay. Dash refers to a difference between an amount classification, presentation, disclosure of a reported financial statement item and the amount classification, presentation, disclosure that is required for the item to be in accordance with the AFRF. Right, so misstatement, difference between what is and what should be. Right, Latest and Vibrant Limited is an unlisted public limited company. For the above mentioned company, it will be required to appoint an internal auditor only when during the preceding financial year the paid up share capital of the company would be more than or equal to 50 crore, correct? 25 doubling PBT. So 50 is for the paid up share capital. Okay. Bright and Smart Private Limited will be required according to the provisions of Companies Act to appoint an internal auditor only if the turnover during the preceding year would be, right, more than or equal to 200 crore. Okay. Right. Then components of risk of material misstatement at the assertion level are Inherent risk and the control risk. Okay, when deviation from controls upon which the auditor intends to rely are detected, the auditor shall not make inquiry, auditor shall make specific inquiry, auditor shall make general inquiry, the auditor shall make both general as well as specific inquiry. Right, the auditor shall make these specific inquiries to understand these matters and their potential consequences. Okay, because of the assessment of the risk of material misstatement takes account of the internal control, then the extent of substantive may need to be increased irrespective of the results from TOC. Extent of substantive may need to be increased when the results from TOC are satisfactory. Extent of substantive may need to be decreased when the results from TOC are unsatisfactory. Extent of substantive may need to be increased when the results from TOC are unsatisfactory. Some of them are still processing. Irrespective to out of question. Then what does it say? Extent of substantive may need to be increased, more substantive when the results of TOC are unsatisfactory. So when controls are ineffective, you'll have to increase the nature, timing and extent of substantive procedures. Okay. Risk of material misstatement may be defined as risk that the financial statements are materially misstated after, during, prior, right, prior to the audit. Okay, susceptibility of an assertion about a class of transaction, account balance or disclosure to a misstatement which could be material either individually or when aggregated with other misstatement before consideration of controls is inherent risk. Okay, assessment of risk is yes, matter of professional judgment rather than a matter capable of the precise measurement. Okay, assessment of risk of material misstatement may be expressed in 3%, 2%, or high, low, moderate, right? Or high, low, moderate, high risk, low risk, moderate risk. It could be quantitative terms such as in percentages, or it could also be the non-quantitative terms, right? So quantitative as well as the non-quantitative terms. SA 315 establishes requirements and provides guidance on identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement at the financial statement level and at the assertion level. When credit purchase of 5100 is recorded on credit side and credit sales of 5100 is recorded on the debit side, this kind of error is called as a compensating error, right? Compensating errors. Okay, if as the result of misstatement resulting from fraud the auditor encounters exceptional circumstances that bring into question, today we discussed that the auditor's ability to continue performing the audit, the auditor shall determine withdraw from the engagement, report to audit team regarding withdrawal, determine the professional legal responsibility, ask the management for his withdrawal, right? Determine the professional legal responsibilities applicable in these circumstances. Which of the following is an example of inflating cash payment? Inflating cash payment. A, making payment against inflated voucher. Just making a payment against voucher, why it is inflating? Making payment against the inflated vouchers. Okay, types of errors existence of which becomes apparent in the process of compilation of accounts is known as self-revealing errors, right? Which pop up themselves, है ना? Pop-up error which come out themselves when the process of compilation of account. Which of the following is incorrect? An auditor conducting an audit is responsible for obtaining absolute assurance that the financial statements taken as a whole are free from material misstatement. Which of the following is incorrect? A. And so no need to read B, C, D. What does it say? Owing to the inherent limitations, there is an unavoidable risk. The risk of not detecting a misstatement from fraud is greater than error, and the risk of not detecting a management fraud is greater than the employee fraud, right? So absolute assurance, that is incorrect. Okay. Factor which distinguishes an error from a fraud and other irregularity is the intention, right? It is the intention. You know, why you say fraud and error? What is the difference? Intention. One is intentional, other would be unintentional. Reporting on fraud is to be made by auditor to central government when fraud amount is 1 crore or above, right? 1 crore or above. Okay. Reporting on fraud is to be made by the auditor to the central government in form ADT 4, right? Duty to report the fraud to CG. Okay. Reporting on fraud is made by the auditor under which of the following clause of CARO? Clause 11, right? Clause 11. Okay. Right, of CARO. Which of the following is a general IT control? IT environment, application control, access security, or the IT dependent control, right? So obviously the access security control. Yesterday, what were the four types of general IT controls we had seen? Data center and network operation, program change, access security, and the application system acquisition, development, and the maintenance control. Okay. Next one. Which of the following is an automated control? Program change, system generated report, application control, or the configurations? Which of the following is an, it's a control? You get a report, is that a control? Configurations. Configured, okay, password has to be 8 characters. Configured, no, so that is an example of an automated application control over there, right? When you have the configurations. Okay, next one. Who is mainly responsible for implementation of IFC in a company? E, you always give an E option over there. Don't tell me anything out of A, B, C, D. Right? The directors of the company are responsible for implementation of IFC. Guidance note on IFC has been issued by, right? ICAI. Okay, next one. Standard that requires auditors to analyze journal entry in an audit is SA 240, because recording fictitious journal entry, management override of control. So that's 240. Right. In WH Limited, every business activity was being carried out manually. The top management decided to change the business environment by using computer systems and computer system related technology. This business environment of WH, where major business activities are done using the computer system and computer related technology, is an example of an automated environment. Okay. Dash are also known as pervasive or indirect controls. Like general IT controls are also known as the pervasive or the indirect controls. Okay. Dash is a combination of processes, tools, and techniques that are used to tap vast amount of electronic data to obtain the meaningful information, right? So data analytics, because nowadays we use the term data analytics, which is nothing but the cats. But what is the correct option? Data analytics. Okay. Dash are manual or automated procedures that typically operate at a business process level and apply to the processing of individual applications, right? The application controls, it could be manual or automated procedures. Okay. Dash are manual control that make use of some form of data or information or report produced from the IT system. So that's the IT dependent control. Okay. Dash is a logical subsystem within a larger information system where electronic data is stored in a predefined form and retrieved for use. Database. Okay. Next one. Dash is a control deficiency or a combination of deficiency in internal control that is important enough to merit the attention of TCWG, since there is a reasonable possibility that a material misstatement will not be prevented or detected in a timely manner by the management. Material weakness, material deficiency, control risk, or significant deficiency. Dash is a control deficiency or a combination of deficiency that is important to merit the attention of TCWG, since there is a reasonable possibility that a material misstatement will not be prevented or detected. Material weakness. And that's material weakness. In that entire sentence, if that word material is not there, you be with me, I'll read the statement again. What am I saying? Dash is a control deficiency or a combination of deficiency that is important enough to merit the attention of TCWG, since there is a reasonable possibility that a misstatement will not be prevented, detected. If they don't use the word material, then it is significant deficiency. But if they use the word material misstatement, then it is material weakness. You can check the list of definitions given in your book. You have the definition of significant deficiency also and material weakness also, where at the end of the chapter of automated environment, because they say material misstatement will not be prevented, detected, it is called as a material weakness. It is called as a material weakness. Okay, who among the following is required to comply with section 149? What is section 149? Company law, schedule 4 of company law, independent directors, right? So it's regarding yesterday when we saw the IFC, who is responsible for the IFC. So 149 is regarding the independent directors. Okay, which of the following audit testing method is most effective as an audit test and gives the best audit evidence? Right, it gives the best evidence, reperformance, right? Reperformance. Okay, right. Then user training in an user training is an activity related to which of the following general IT control? User acceptance testing. I told you, na, they pick up one of the point out of the activity and they ask it's related to which of them? Data center and network operation, program change, you access security, and application system acquisition, development and maintenance. So user training you have to give whenever you make any program change, right? So whenever you do any program change, right? So user training is an activity related to the program change control. Okay. The objective of establishing security policies and procedures is to ensure that production system, modified system, access to program or systems are developed, configured. Security, you know, access security control is to ensure, they've given the objectives of all four general IT controls over there. Right, production system is for data center and network operation. Modified system is for the program change control. Do you know the four types of general IT control? Data center and network operation, program change, access security, and the application system acquisition, development and maintenance. So access to programs and data is authenticated and authorized. That is of the access security control, right? So objective of establishing security policies and procedures is for the access security. Okay. IT related risk, if not mitigated, may put an impact on. Yesterday we did a question on this. Impact of IT related risks on substantive audit, controls and reporting. So all of the above. We said, no, we cannot rely on the data. We cannot rely on the data. So data is to be checked for completeness and accuracy. More evidence is needed. More substantive audit work is needed. Right? So impact on all of the above. Okay. Right. Which of the following audit testing method gives the least audit evidence? Inquiry, and it is most efficient, but it gives you the least audit evidence. Okay, applying dash gives the most efficient and effective audit evidence while using audit testing methods. Inquiry in combination with the inspection, right? Inquiry in combination with the inspection. What did we say? Inquiry alone? No, 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 no. Inquiry should be used in combination. So what is a good combination? Inquiry in combination with the inspection. Dash are needed to support the functioning of dash. I am to like listening to your answers. You changed, huh? You changed political party. Okay. First you said application controls. Now you changed to A. Right? General IT controls are needed to support the effective functioning of the application controls. If the general IT is not effective, the application and the IT dependent controls cannot be effective. The main advantage of using statistical sampling techniques is that such techniques mathematically measure the risk, eliminate the need for judgmental sampling, defines the value of tolerable error or all of them, right? So we don't study any of these others over there. So mathematically measure the risk, right? So eliminate the need for judgmental sampling. No, that's the judgment of the auditor, whether to do statistical or non-statistical. So if you look into the advantages of statistical sampling in your book, what does it say? It mathematically measures the risk, right? So mathematically measures the risk. Next one. Which of the following factors are considered in determining the sample size for TOC? Projected error, tolerable error, expected error, or both B and C? Did we talk yesterday about projected error? No, no, we talk about tolerable error and the expected error. If tolerance increases, sample size decreases. If expected error rate increases, sample size also increases. Okay. Tolerable error is the maximum monetary error that the auditor is prepared to accept in a population and still conclude that the audit objective has been achieved, is directly related to. Yes, if I can tolerate more errors. So, it's directly related to sample size. I can tolerate more errors. Will I do more checking or less checking? All four, only audit risk you are not saying. Tolerable error is the maximum monetary amount, right? That the auditor so has been tolerable error. The more the tolerable error, the lower would be the yes materiality. So it is inversely directly related to the materiality, and sample size it is inversely related to. Okay, next one. Right, which of the following is a source of non-sampling risk? Human mistake, applying audit procedure not appropriate, misinterpreting the sample result, all of the above. Right, all of the above, right? So any reason your conclusion goes wrong apart from sample, that is the non-sampling risk. Okay, which of the following is more scientific? Statistical sampling. Wonderful. As the number of transactions of WY for 1819 were in very large number, the auditor of WY decided to use the technique of audit sampling. Before selecting the sample from repairs and maintenance, the auditor of WY wished the entire data of repairs and maintenance should have three characteristics. These three characteristics are ACR, appropriateness, completeness, and the reliability. So simple, complete, relevant, appropriate, simple, relevant, reliable, simple, relevant, or appropriateness, completeness, and reliable. It has to be ACR. What is ACR? Appropriateness, completeness, and the reliable. Okay, in random sample, each item in the population, equal chance, varying chance, may have a chance, or all of the above, equal chance of being selected. Relationship between tolerable error and sample size is an inverse relationship. Okay, next one. Statistical sampling has the following characteristics: random selection and the use of the probability theory. Okay, when significant risk has been identified by the auditor, then audited evidence obtained solely from substantive is sufficient. Audit evidence obtained solely from substantive analytical is unlikely to be sufficient. Auditor will perform TOD also, or both B and C, right? So both B and C. Why? Because it's a significant risk which has been identified by the auditor. Okay. Substantive analytical procedures are generally more applicable to large volume of transactions and transactions which are predictable over a period of time, right? So they just break the sentence and make it over here. Dash is the comparison of current data with the prior period balance. Trend analysis. Okay, right. Next one. Yes. Analytical procedures are more useful when conducting the audit and at the completion stage, but are of no use at the planning stage. Right. In the planning stage, audit procedures and assist the auditor in understanding the client business and identifying the areas of potential risk. Right? First one, is it correct? No, because no use at the planning stage, incorrect. We perform analytical throughout the audit. And second statement, is it correct? Yes, so only a statement 2 is correct. What are analytical procedures? Substantive test designed to assess control risk, substantive test designed to evaluate validity of representation, substantive test designed to study relationship between financial and non-financial data. Okay, which of the following is not an analytical procedure? Yes, which of the following is not an analytical procedure? Right, tracing of purchases recorded in the purchase book to the purchase invoice, because that's a test of detail, that's not analytical. Okay, analytical procedures issued in the performed in the planning stage of an audit are generally help to determine the nature, timing, and extent of other procedures, direct potential to potential risk areas, indicate important aspects of the business, or all of the above. Right, so all of the above. Okay, right, next one. The basic assumption underlying the use of analytical procedure is it helps the auditor to study relationship among elements of financial information. Relationship among data exist and continue in the absence of the known evidence to the contrary. Analytical procedure will not be able to detect unusual relationships or none of the above. Sorry. right? So relationship among data exists and continue in the absence of known evidence to conditions to the contrary. What is the primary objective of analytical procedures used in the conclusion stage of the audit, in the overall review stage of an audit? To help to corroborate the conclusions drawn from the individual component, to reduce specific detection risk, to direct attention to potential risk area, that is the planning stage, to satisfy doubts when question arise about the client's ability to continue, no, to help to corroborate the conclusions drawn from the individual components of the financial statements. Okay, auditor compares gross profit ratio with that of the previous year, and it has been discovered that there has been a fall in the ratio. This is an example of analytical procedures, right? This is an example of analytical procedure. Which assertion is common among balance sheet and P&L? ERCV, What is common? Completeness is the common assertion. Okay. Direct confirmation procedures are performed during audit of the accounts receivable balance to address the following balance sheet assertion. You can't select two, only one. Existence, okay, whether the debtor exists, right? So the existence, okay. When, you'll get incorrect. No, you know, you'll get incorrect. No, but amount they will confirm. I ask you, do you have to pay them 10,000? You say, yeah, I have to pay 10,000. Are you going to tell me, but out of them, I'm going to give them only 1,000? Do I have to pay you 10,000? Yeah, but am I going to pay you 10,000? That is not sure. So, external confirmation is a very strong evidence to the assertion of existence, but a very weak one to the assertion of valuation. Right? So, mainly it is for the existence. So that is debtor balances. Debtor balance, that way, okay, whether the debtor really exists, whose balance is being reflected, that way. The debtor balance is being reflected. Balance here is not the amount ka focus. The question focus is not on the amount. The question focuses on the accounts receivable. That is the existence. And it is told in SA 505. Okay, external confirmation is a very strong evidence to the assertion of existence, but a very weak evidence to the assertion of the valuation. When no reply is received during performance of the direct confirmation procedure as part of the audit of accounts receivable balances, the auditor should perform no additional testing including subsequent collection testing, and agree the details of the respective balance to the customer remittance, additional testing including preparing a detailed analysis of the balance, ensuring it consists of identifiable transaction, and confirming that these revenue transactions actually occurred on both A, B and C. Right? So this is actually, they've taken it from the chapter of the audit of items of financial statement, right? So it is both, yes, the additional testing including the subsequent collection testings, and also agreeing the balances to the customer remittance advice. Okay. Right. Then obtaining trade receivable aging report and analysis and identification of doubtful debt is performed during audit of the accounts receivable balance to address the following balance sheet assertion. Is trade receivable aging report and analysis and identification of doubtful debt. Yesterday we said debtors under litigation, debtors which are doubtful, then write off, then schedule of bad debts, provision. Right, so that was for the valuation, right? That was for the valuation. Okay. Observing inventory being counted and personally performing test count to verify count is performed during audit of inventory balances to address the following balance sheet assertion. So why do you attend 31st March 3 p.m. to check the existence of the inventory? Okay. Wages paid to workers would qualify as revenue or capital expenditure depending upon the facts and circumstances, because if it's installation page wages paid for the plant and machinery, then you could also capitalize the same. Okay. During the course of audit of intangible assets, expenditure incurred during which of the following phase is not capitalized? Right, research phase can never be capitalized. Okay. Search for unrecorded liability is performed during audit of current liabilities to address the following balance sheet assertion. Completeness and unrecorded, so to check whether all has been recorded. Okay. Cut-off testing is performed during audit of sales to address the following assertion. right? The cutoff, and obviously the cutoff and the completeness coming together over there. Okay, ABC investee company in a XYZ declares final dividend of for financial year 2021 in the meeting of board of directors held on April 10. In which financial year would ABC account for the dividend income? 2021 or 21-22? So date of declaration is what? For 2021, it has been in the meeting held on April 21. So obviously it will be coming in the 21-22, right? In 21-22, when the right to receive the payment of dividend has been established, right? So what does it say? For 2021, they declare on April 10. So proposed dividend, it is only to be shown as a notes when it is to be accounted when the right to receive the payment of dividend has been established, right? So in 21-22, okay. Next one, all inventory units held by the entity, yes, and that should have been recorded, have been recognized in the financial statements. The assertion involved is completeness. Whenever you see the word all, okay. Which of the following is not an example of a revenue expenditure? Salaries and wages of employees engaged directly or indirectly in production, repairs and maintenance, renewals of fixed assets, right? Legal and professional expenses, development expenditure on a land, right? So development expenditure on the land. Okay, useful life of assets is given in Schedule 2 of the Companies Act 2013. Dash are charged against profit to provide for known liabilities, right? So provisions are the charge against the profit to provide for the known liability. Which of the following is not a type of modified opinion? Negative opinion. Okay, right. The auditor shall express. Where are you? 1 1 1 2 2 1 2 2 1 2. Material misstatement, material and pervasive. It will lead to adverse opinion. Okay. In which paragraph of the report you write that we have conducted our audit in accordance with the standards on auditing? Basis for opinion is, what does it say? Requires use of specific headings that are intended to assist the auditor in making the report, right? Report that refers to the audit have been conducted in accordance with the essays. Which of the following is the specific heading? For this one, the answer should be basis for opinion, right? Because in which heading of the audit report you write down the basis for opinion paragraph. Okay, opinion section of the audit report shall identify the entity whose financial statements are being audited, state that the financial statements are being audited, identify the title, or all of the above, right? It has to be all of the above. Okay, next one. PQR and Associates, a firm of CA, has three audits, three partners PQR. The firm is already having audit of the 60 companies. Now the firm gets an offer from three companies, one which is a dormant company, second which is a one-person company, and third is a private company having paid up capital of 90 crore. In this situation, the auditor cannot accept any of the company audit, can accept the audit of OPC, can accept the audit of OPC dormant but not of private company. Auditor can accept the audit of all the three companies, right? All the three companies. Why? Because private company paid up share capital less than 100 crore. Okay. Any casual vacancy in the office of a cost auditor, whether due to resignation, death or removal, shall be filled in by the board of directors within 30 days from the date of the casual vacancy, even for the cost auditor. Okay. Section 139(7) provides that in case of a government company or any other company which is controlled by the government, the first auditor shall be appointed by the CNAG within the first auditor shall be appointed by CNAG within 60 days from the date of registration of the company. है ना? 30 90 60 30 60. So 30 60. Right. 139(1) of the Companies Act provides that every company at the first AGM appoint an auditor who shall hold office from the conclusion of that meeting till the conclusion of the sixth meeting, and thereafter till the conclusion of every sixth meeting. Okay, right. Mr. Hitendra is acting as an auditor of Kitex for last 5 years. Kitex is unlisted and has no public borrowing. Rotation of auditor will be required for Kitex Limited if unlisted and having no public borrowing. If their paid up share capital is more than or equal to 10 crore, right? Because it is an unlisted public company. Okay, right. Next one. First auditor was approved. Appointment was approved by the board of directors. One of the employee was of the opinion that remuneration of first auditor of SW would be decided only by the members in the first AGM. The opinion of Y is incorrect because remuneration of first auditor of SW limited by the decided by the board of directors. If appointed by the board, the remuneration could also be fixed by the board. Okay, next one. Information related to four companies is provided below. Which of the above mentioned company is required to constitute an audit committee? Section 177, audit committee. Z1 and Y2, because private limited company not required only to constitute an audit committee. And then for every public company having turnover of more than or equal to 100 crore. Here it is having 160 crore and 180 crore. So both Z1 and Y2 are required to are required to constitute the audit committee. A partnership firm of chartered accountants by the name of HK and Associates were the auditors of the company named TR. Due to some reason, HK and Associates resigned from being the auditor. In this scenario, who will appoint another auditor? Direct board of directors of TR, but such appointment should be approved by the company in the TR Limited in a general meeting held within 3 months. Okay. Right, casual vacancy due to resignation. Next one, there was a public limited company by the name YW. According to the last audited financial statements, paid up capital was 10 crore. A partnership firm was required to be appointed as an auditor. Whether which appropriate authority would consider the qualifications and experience of the partnership firm? Right, considering the size and requirement, members of YW audit committee, board of directors, or independent directors. Now, first you need to tell me, yes, YW, do they need to constitute an audit committee? YW Limited, do they need to constitute an audit committee? Listed company always, and every public company having paid up share capital of more than or equal to 10 crore. 10 crore. 177. Every public company having paid up share capital of more than or equal to 10 crore, turnover of more than or equal to 100 crore, or in the aggregate LBDD, loans, borrowing, debenture, deposit of more than or equal to 50 crore. So your paid up share capital 20 crore. Do they need to constitute an audit committee? Yes, an audit committee will look into qualification, experience. If they were not required to constitute audit committee, then who would have looked into qualification, experience? The board of directors. Okay. A private limited company by the name of WS has paid up share capital of 65 crore. Which one of the following statement is correct relating to rotation of the auditor? Is rotation applicable to WS? Is it applicable? Yes. Why? Rotation is applicable because paid up share capital is more than 40 crore, more than 50 crore, or rotation is not applicable. It is applicable because paid up share capital is more than or equal to 50 crore. Okay. Right. A partnership firm by the name of HS completed its 2 terms of 5 consecutive years for a private company having paid up share capital of 58. Now, HS cannot be appointed as an auditor for how many years? 5 years, right? They cannot be appointed as an auditor. A director of YH by the name of W was of the opinion that first auditor of YH must be appointed by the members of YH within 40 days from the date of registration. Opinion of W is incorrect because the first auditor should be appointed by the by whom? Board of directors. What does the question say? Must be appointed by the members within 30 days. No, it is to be appointed by the board of directors within 30 days. Are you getting that? Okay. Next one. Dash refers to audit procedures performed, refers to the record of audit procedures performed, audit evidence obtained, and the conclusions reached, right? So audit documentation. Next one. Dash may be defined as one or more folder. Right, the audit file may be defined as one or more folder in this physical or the electronic form. Next one, as per SQC 1, appropriate time limit within which to complete the assembly of the final audit file is ordinarily not more than 60 days after the date of the audit report. A request that the confirming party respond directly to the auditor only if the confirming party disagrees with the information provided in the request is a negative confirmation request. Auditor's judgment as to the sufficiency may be affected by, repeat question over there, right? MRS. What is MRS? Materiality, RMM, and the size and characteristics of the population. Okay. Which of the following is not an audit procedure to obtain audit evidence? First they say external, then they say no, internal control. Right? Internal control is not an audit technique or procedure to obtain the evidence. Okay. Regulating body in case of banks is the RBI. Okay. Next one. Which of the following is a fund-based advance? First they say term loan. They read term loan. They don't say it. Term loan, cash credit, demand loan, or all of the above? All of the above. Which of the following is not a classification of NPA? Impaired. Okay. Right. Engagement team discussions are usually done at which stage of the bank audit? Right, the developing an audit plan, ETD, engagement team discussion. The auditor of a nationalized bank is to be appointed by, tell out of any one option out of what is over there. At least that much mercy you can do for me. The concerned bank acting through its board of directors, right? CNAG, why I taught you 6 points now regarding appointment of the auditor. Auditors of the State Bank of India are appointed by the CNAG in consultation with CG. But auditors of a nationalized bank are to be appointed by the concerned bank acting through its board of directors. LFAR is to be submitted before 30th June every year. Okay. In case of frauds involving amounting less than 1 crore, the auditor shall report to fraud less than 1 crore. Bank's board and the audit committee. Why rush of blood? Why panic? Not required. Okay. But hello. RBI it is required. No, but before that, right now, out of this, which is most important? First audit committee and banks board. Then RBI, that will come later because you have to select only one option. Okay. Right. So coming to the next one. Which of the following is a non-fund based facility? Bank guarantee. Okay. Next one. The term drawing power is associated with which of the following facilities? Letter of credit, term loan, staff advances, or the cash credit limit, right? So the cash credit limit. Drawing power in case of consortium is computed and allocated to the member banks by the lead bank. Okay. Next one. ABA Limited has been assigned a cash credit of 20 lakh as against its book debt furnished as security. What kind of security creation is it? Right, it is the assignment, right? They've assigned their debtors to the bank. Rima has availed a personal loan for her boutique of 5 lakh and a vehicle loan to purchase an Activa scooter for 60,000. She is regular in depositing the EMI of the Activa loan but not made any payment towards the personal loan due to the low business during the year. In this case, which of the following category facility should be categorized as an NPA? Higher of the two? Right? No, both the Activa loan and the personal loan. Okay. Public enterprises are required to maintain commercial accounts and are generally classified under 3 categories. Which of the following is not a category related to above? Department government audit. Yeah, so now departmental enterprises, statutory bodies, corporations which have been financed by government companies, or charitable trusts. Right, charitable trust, right? They are not the public enterprises, right? They don't come under the criteria of the public enterprises. Article 151 requires that the reports of CNAG related to accounts of the union and state shall be submitted to the, who shall cause them to be laid before the House of Parliament or the state legislature, right? To the president or the Governor. Okay, next one. Dash aims at ascertaining that expenditure incurred has been for the purpose for which the grant and appropriation has been provided, and the amount of such expenditure does not exceed the appropriation made. Okay, you want the options. Just so interesting. Everybody will say one. Audit of sanction or propriety audit. Appropriation has been provided and the amount does not exceed the appropriation made. So that is audit against the provision of one. Sanction, there is no word sanction over there. Propriety, unnecessary irregular expenditure. Why did you say that? Absolutely wrong, right? Not, if such type of question come and you do a mistake, not right, not fair. Appointment of a sole proprietor, what did you say? I yet to, but you are completely dependent on the fast track class only. Okay. Auditor of a sole proprietor is appointed by CNAG. Now it says CNAG. Right, appointed by the sole proprietor himself. Okay. Every LLP would be required to file the annual return in form with the ROC within 60 days of the closure of the financial year. Right, there is form 8 and there is form 11. There is no form 9 and there is no form DPIN over there. Right, so annual return, annual return is required to be filed in form 11. How I know that? Annual, NN, so 1 1. NN, so that's why I know it very clearly. Okay, annual return is form 11 and form 8, statement of accounts and solvency. So account and solvency, that is 8. So annual return. So NN, so 1 1. So that is form 11. Okay. Right. Next one. In addition to the audit certificate and prescribed forms and various schedule, the auditor of a cooperative society in the applicable state has to answer two set of questionnaires called as the audit memos. Two set of questionnaires called as the audit memos. Okay, right. Which while conducting the audit of a local body, the auditor's area of audit does not include. Right, it includes budgetary procedure, expenditure control, accounting system, but does not include the dispute resolution. After a government expenditure has been incurred and the accounts are closed, the appropriation accounts are prepared, which are scrutinized by. After a government expenditure has been incurred and the accounts are closed, the appropriation accounts are prepared and are scrutinized by the Public Accounts Committee, right? That's there in the introduction of the government audit chapter. Which of the following is not correct? Is not correct. You need to hide your face, no? Right? A is 28 impairment, correct, no? So A is 16, that is borrowing cost. A is 26 is intangible assets. Okay. Next one. Which of the following items should not be treated as an asset as per provisions of AS 26? Internally generated goodwill. Okay. Section 52 of the Companies Act states that securities premium account can be applied by the company for any one of the purpose mentioned below. Which of the following is the correct option? One is correct, other three are wrong. For the premium payable on the redemption of the redeemable preference shares. Okay, right. So that is the correct application. R illustrated to esteem that the utility of the program can be retained and enhanced only by keeping the program as also the client's operation and internal control under the recurrent assessment. Which attribute of audit program is highlighted here? Periodic review of, what question they can make, no? And one heading which we discussed, periodic review of the audit program. Okay. The firm RK and Associates has an extensive understanding of the code of ethics that underlies the fundamental principles relevant to the auditor when conducting an audit and provides a conceptual framework for applying these principles. Which of the following does not form part of the fundamental principle? Skepticism, because that does not come in your fundamental principle. Integrity, objectivity, professional competence, due care, confidentiality, professional behavior, that comes in your fundamental principles. Okay, which of the following is not an example of an event or condition that may cast a significant doubt on the company's ability to continue as a going concern? loss of key management without replacement, adverse key financial ratio, unable to pay the creditors, or the current year profit turns to loss after providing depreciation, right? So current year profit turned to loss after providing depreciation. XYZ Associates is appointed as the new auditor of Bright. On conducting the audit, the firm found that accountant has entered fake invoice of credit purchases in the books aggregated to 55 lakh and cleared all the payments to the fake creditor. The auditor of PQR would report such fraud to or audit committee. Why? Because the fraud is less than 1 crore. Okay, right. A capital reserve can never be utilized for writing down fictitious asset. The amount of securities premium or the capital redemption reserve can be utilized only for the purpose given in section 52 and 55. Right? So what does it say? Right, only statement 2 is correct. Why? Because statement 1, a capital reserve can never be utilized for writing down fictitious assets. No, what do we say? If it is allowed by the articles, if it is received in cash, then it can be used for writing down the fictitious assets or the losses. Okay, the term internal financial control refers to the policies and procedures put in place for ensuring the today we discuss no RESC, reliability of financial reporting, efficiency, effectiveness of operation, compliance with laws and regulation, and all of the above. Okay. The company hand dash shall abide by the provisions specified in Schedule 4, which lays down the duty code for independent directors. So it has to be the independent directors. Okay. Right. So company Schedule 4 for section 149 is for the independent directors. The tools and techniques that auditor uses in applying the principles of data analytics are known as CATs, right? The data analytics used in an audit are called as the CATs. Then dash exists when an internal control is either missing or not operating effectively to PDC. Dash exists when an internal control is either missing or not operating effectively. A control deficiency, significant we don't know right now, but it's a control deficiency. Okay, right. Then dash requires the firm to establish policies and procedures for retention, and the retention period is no shorter than, so anyway, 6 years, 7 years, 7 years, 6 years. So 6 and 6 out, A and D out. Now SA 200 or SQC 1? SQC 1. So SQC 1 requires the firms to establish the policies and procedures for retention of engagement documentation, and it shall not be shorter than 7 years from the date of the auditor's report. An important factor in determining the form, content and extent of documentation of the significant matters is the extent of the professional judgment exercised in performing the work and evaluating the result. Okay, the auditor may consider it helpful to prepare and retain as a part of audit documentation a summary that called as the, sometimes known as the completion memorandum, that describes the evidence identified, significant matters identified, how they were addressed, significant evidence identified, significant matters identified. B, the significant matters identified and how they were addressed. What we discussed in SA 230, the audit completion memorandum, right? The audit completion memorandum, right? When information to be used as audit evidence has been prepared using the work of the management's expert, the auditor shall, to the extent necessary, having regard to the significance of the expert's work, evaluate the CCO, competence, capability, objectivity, obtain an understanding of the expert's work, and evaluate the appropriateness of the expert's work as audit evidence for the relevant assertion. Right, so 1, 2 and 3, because I'll check the CCO of the expert, understand the work, and also evaluate the expert's work. Okay, and in designing and performing TOC, the auditor shall perform for other audit procedures in combination with inquiry to obtain evidence about the operating effectiveness of control, how the controls were applied, the consistency with which they were applied, and by who and by what means were they applied. Right, so again it would be all of the above, right? How the controls were applied, the consistency with which they were applied, and also by whom and how were they applied. Yes, so is it clear to everyone? So obviously these is, again, you know, we say the booklet of ICAI, but have we just seen all the MCQs in the booklet of ICAI over there? Right, have we seen? Oh, sorry. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Because SKC 1 talks about engagement documentation. It talks about any engagement being performed by your firm, whether it is audit, review, assurance, or so. That is why SKC 1 has been referred over there. Okay. Right. So that's again a correct reference over there. Right. So let's see a few more. Maybe now in the, JG Associates is having an office in Chennai, are the statutory auditors under the Companies Act of a company, Sweet Aroma Private Limited, engaged in the business of obtaining and manufacturing rice from paddy, catering to both the domestic as well as the international market, mainly in the Gulf nation. The company has a huge plant capacity for rice extraction in one of the states in northern India. Needless to say that inventories are huge in quantity in such type of business consisting of raw material, WIP and the finished goods. The auditor wants to obtain evidence regarding the inventory. In this context, answer the following question. What does it say? Sweet Aroma Private Limited is engaged in the business of obtaining and manufacturing the rice from paddy, catering to both the domestic and the international market. Which of the following is most likely correct in relation to obtaining evidence regarding the existence and condition of inventory? It is mandatory for the auditor to attend in all circumstances. Physical inventory may be attended by the auditor on the date of financial statements or at a date other than the financial statements in his discretion, mandatorily in all circumstances. Attendance at inventory count is impracticable due to time and cost because of auditor's office location. Hence, attendance at inventory count may be skipped and alternative procedures may be performed. The auditor shall attend inventory count unless impracticable. However, issue of time and cost involved because of auditor's office location vis-a-vis the company plant location is not a valid basis for skipping the inventory counting. Right? Option D. The auditor shall attend unless impracticable. SA 501 says that. Attend the inventory count unless impracticable. And issue of time and cost involved because of auditor office location and your office location is not a valid basis for skipping the physical inventory counting. Okay. Below are given certain cluster of matters which are relevant in planning attendance of auditor at inventory counting. Which of the following cluster consists of a likely inappropriate combination? Yani ke three combinations are right and one combination is wrong. Okay. Nature of inventory, timing of inventory counting, stages of completion of work in progress, nature of inventory, timing of counting, valuation method, nature of inventory, timing of inventory, whether client is using perpetual inventory system, and risks of material misstatement related to inventory, nature of internal control relating to inventory, and considerations regarding maintenance of a perpetual inventory system. Huh? When I attend the inventory count, will I not check this is, oh, this is 30% complete, acha, this is 40% complete. But valuation, I will not check it when I'm attending the inventory count. That I will check it on a later date when I go for the, the normal audit over there. But 31st March, when 31st March 3 p.m., that time valuation is not priority. That time priority is existence. Right, that time the priority is the existence. Okay, which of the following is the most logical sequence of step in relation to attendance at inventory count? So because SA 501 says that auditor, you should attend the inventory count at the year end date. What is SA 501? Audit evidence specific consideration for selected item. What is one of the selected item over there? Existence and condition of the inventory, right? And what does it say? Auditor, how to get evidence regarding existence and condition of inventory? You need to attend. And when you attend, what you need to do? You need to evaluate management's instruction. You need to observe the count procedures. You need to inspect the inventory. You need to reperform the test counts, and you also need to reconcile with the actual inventory records. So 31st March 3 p.m. when you go to client go down, you have to follow the following procedures. Evaluate management's instruction, observe the count, inspect the inventory, reperform test counts, and also reconcile with the actual inventory records. Now here what does it say? Observe the count, perform test count, and last point what does it say? Evaluate management procedure, then observe the counting, then inspect the inventory, and then perform the test count. Is it correct matching with our sequence? So even though if we know the first point, can we write the others? Yes, because what is the first point? Evaluate management procedure. right? So evaluate the management procedure. Right, now during attendance at physical inventory count, the auditor inspects the inventory. Following outcomes stated 1, 2, 3 are given below of his inspection procedure. Outcome 1, existence. Outcome 2, ownership. Outcome 3, condition. Which of the following statement is most likely to be true? 1, 2 and 3 are necessarily established. 1 and 3 are established after inspection. 2 is never established. 1 and 2 are established. 2 may not be necessarily established. 2 and 3 are established. 1 may not necessarily be established. Right, so when I attend the inventory count, existence and condition, I compulsorily come to know, but ownership I may not necessarily come to know. So 1 and 2, 3 are necessarily established, but 2 may not necessarily be established. Okay, next one. It was observed by the auditors that out of total rice physically counted as on 31st March, about 67 quintal of rice belonged to PQR, a proprietary concern, which had sent paddy to company plant for extraction of rice. So is it the inventory of Sweet Aroma Private Limited? No, it is not the inventory of Sweet Aroma. Somebody else's inventory has come to them. So for Sweet Aroma, it is an inventory of the third party which is lying with them. What would be the treatment of this item in the financial statements of the company? Would be reflected in company financial statements as per method of valuation adopted by company, as per method of valuation adopted by the proprietary concern. It will not be reflected in company financial statements. It would be reflected in proprietary concern financial statements as per the valuation method adopted by the company. What does it say? It will not be reflected in the company financial statements. Okay, next one. A partnership firm of CA, YZ and Associates were appointed as the auditor of UV Private Limited for financial year, for which YZ and Associates were to audit the books of account for April 21 ending March 22. YZ and Associates consists of 4 partners, YZ, G and H. While auditing the accounts for 21-22, one of the partner took up the expense part for the audit. Management of UV had adopted various accounting policies and principles related to expense, and some of the issues which H was unable to understand are as follows. Machinery insurance expense paid for 1 year ended 31st May has been included in insurance expense for 21-22. If it has been paid for year ending 31st May, that means it should come only up to 31st March. That is April and May is prepaid, na? If I pay for the next year in the current year, that is what? Prepaid insurance. Personal rent of one of the directors has been shown as rent expense of the company. So again, personal rent of one of the director should not be shown in the company book. Repairs and maintenance for the month of February and March are outstanding, are not shown in the balance sheet. February, March, that means they relate to the current year. They should be recorded as the outstanding rent. Then repairs and maintenance for 21-22 were very high as compared to previous year. Auditor H asked the appropriate authority for the reasons for such huge differences. That means they are doing the analytical procedure. While verifying the insurance expense, the insurance policies were not shown to the auditor. The above mentioned 5 points were some of the issues which H was unable to understand. As the firm, right, as per the point number 1 mentioned in the above case, the power and fuel expenses paid for the month of April and May 22, or the the insurance expense paid for the next year, April and May 22, must be shown in the balance sheet as prepaid insurance, right? Prepaid. So it should not be power and fuel over there. It should be the prepaid. Okay, right? The insurance expense over there. Right. Then the rent expenditure paid off, the personal rent expenditure of one of the son of the director should be subtracted from rent expense, should be added to rent expense, again added to rent expense, so subtracted twice from rent expense. It has to be subtracted from the rent expense of the business of UV Private Limited. Then next one. As per point number 3, repairs and maintenance outstanding should be shown as February, March, should be shown as repairs and maintenance expenses which are payable. Okay. Next one. What is it? Right, there are huge differences between the current year and previous year repairs and maintenance. The auditor should make inquiries of the all employees, management members, or any one of the director. Right, you make the inquiries of the management. And as per point number 5 mentioned in the case, in verifying insurance expense, the insurance policies would provide the auditor with the, yes, as mentioned, the insurance policies would provide the auditor with, right, sufficient appropriate audit evidence. If why you are saying lack of proper supporting, they did not give me the insurance policy, that is lack of proper supporting. But if I get the insurance policy, then that will be the sufficient, appropriate audit evidence. Lakshman is the auditor of best. During the course of audit, he found out that a few doubtful transactions had been committed by the finance manager. The fraud was going on since last 4 to 5 years, and total amount misappropriated as approximately 75 lakh. Balance sheet of best reflected a cash balance of 7 crore. The company had taken a loan of 2 crore from the bank despite of the huge cash balance with the company. They have cash of 7 crore till taken a loan of 2 crore. Also, company bestows some duties on auditors to report matters to central government in case of fraud. On the basis of the above facts, answer below questions in relation to Lakshman's roles and duty while conducting statutory audit of Best Limited. Right, Mr. Lakshman shall obtain reasonable assurance that financial statements are free. Then Lakshman suspects that cash payments were inflated. One of the below, which could be a probable reason for such inflated cash payment, could be making payment against the inflated vouchers. Okay, as per 143.12, Mr. Lakshman shall report the matter to the audit committee or to the board within such manner, such time as may be prescribed. Report to the audit committee constituted under 177. Report the matter to the audit committee and also to the board. Report the matter to the board within such time. Right, so the report the matter to the audit committee or to the board. We don't know whether they need to constitute an audit committee or no. Owing to the inherent limitations of an audit, there is an unavoidable risk. Okay, as an auditor, what conclusion can Lakshman draw regarding the huge cash balance of the company and the corresponding bank loan? Report this matter to the CG under 143.12 as there is a possibility of fraud. Obtain evidence regarding existence of fraud. Report the matter under CARO and there is nothing to report as it's a normal financial decision. No. Obtain evidence as regarding the existence of the fraud, that in spite of having the cash of 7 crore, still they are taking the loan of the 2 crore. Okay, right? So you remain alert. Moon Group of Company is a retail chain involved in the selling of daily consumer goods directly to the customer. They are in the process of appointment of an audit firm for the audit of their accounts for 22. Moon Group is a South India based consumer store having total of 16 outlets across 4 cities in South India. Sumant and Company is the principal auditor for the entire group. Companies Act prescribes in details the terms of audit engagement. Further, there are many branch auditors appointed for the outlets. The company also has an internal audit function conducted on quarterly basis. Following are the observations during the course of the statutory audit. One of the discount offered by the store is in the form of the payback card, where reward points are accumulated and the customer can redeem the same on the subsequent purchase. The management and internal auditors are of the opinion that the points redeemed are to be treated as the trade discount. The external auditors are doubtful on this matter. One of the outlet in Chennai region is on the verge of getting closed as an only left with low stock to be cleared before closure. During the year, the sales were only around 1,40,000 and the auditor considers this component to be immaterial, the branch to be immaterial. All other outlets were performing well with good revenue share. The gratuity valuation of the employees of the retail chain is done by the external valuer. The auditor considered the quantum involved, appoints an external auditors expert for the verification of the actuarial calculation of the gratuity. From the above facts, answer the following questions by choosing the correct answer. Right. As per SA 210, agreeing the terms of audit engagement, which of the following statement is correct? Though law prescribes in sufficient details the terms of engagement, auditor still needs to record them in a written agreement and also seek written agreement from the management. Since law prescribes in sufficient detail the terms of engagement, the auditor need not record them in a written agreement except for the fact that law regulation applies, and also seek written agreement from the management that it acknowledges and understands its responsibility. Auditor has to take an extract of the law prescribing the detail. Though law prescribes in sufficient detail, the auditor still needs to record them in a written agreement. However, it did not ask for a written agreement from the management. Right, B is the correct option. What does it say? Written agreement or any other suitable form. Right, so any other suitable form is what? When you just take an, so it can be a written agreement or in any other suitable form. Right, why any other suitable form? Because here it has been prescribed by the law regulation. Right, so that's again a nitty-gritty of SA 210. Since law prescribes in sufficient detail, the auditor did not record them in a written agreement, except for the fact that law regulation applies, and also seek a written agreement from the management that it acknowledges and understands that it has the responsibility for preparation of financial statements. Okay. With respect to the treatment of the discount on redemption points in the payback card, what could be the action of the external auditor? Auditor can place reliance and go by the opinion of the branch auditor and internal auditor, as they have only done a thorough and detailed audit of the accounts. Auditor can place reliance on management accounting policy, as they are prima facie responsible. External auditor has sole responsibility for the opinion expressed, and he should perform his audit procedure to satisfy himself on the correct treatment and issue the opinion accordingly. Auditor can advise management on the correct treatment but cannot qualify his opinion, as branch auditor has higher authority than external auditor. Right? So external auditor has the sole responsibility. Right. Next one. What is the main objective of the external auditor when he uses the work of the internal auditor? To determine for which areas, what extent the work is to be used, and whether the work is adequate, to appropriately DSR the work of internal auditor, review the internal audit report and audit the areas not covered by internal audit, and inquire from the management on the special points that arose during internal audit, and follow up on the course of action on those points. Right? So determine whether the work can be used and whether the work is adequate for the purpose of the audit. That's the objective of SA 610. Okay. The external auditor finds that branch of Chennai is on the verge of closing down. Yes, and again it is to be audited by a person who is not a member of ICAI. What should the external auditor do? Since it is immaterial, 600 does not apply. Since the professional competence of the auditor is in question, the external auditor should visit the premise and audit the accounts. The auditor can rely on the financial statements of that component by obtaining the written representation from the management that the branch auditor is otherwise well qualified. Since the professional competence of the auditor is in question, the auditor shall coordinate with the branch auditor and call for the books of accounts and the other explanation. Right? Since the financial accounts of the component is immaterial, the provisions of 600 shall not apply, or since the professional competence is in question. Right? So what does it say? Since the component is immaterial. Right? So what you can do, just mention about it in the other matter paragraph. Which of these is not a factor affecting the external auditor's evaluation of the objectivity of the internal audit function? How do you evaluate the objectivity of the internal audit function? Do you look into the organizational status? Yes. Do you look into whether they are free from conflicting responsibility? Yes. Do you check their training and proficiency? That I check it in their competence. How do I do the evaluation of internal audit function? I look into OCA, objectivity, competence, and the approach of the internal auditor. How do I do the evaluation of internal audit function? SA 610. I look into the objectivity of the internal auditors, the competence of the internal auditors, and also the approach of the internal auditors. Right? So here these points which are given: organizational status, that comes in objectivity; free from conflicting responsibility comes in objectivity; whether TCWG oversee employment decisions relating to internal audit comes in objectivity; only technical training and proficiency in audit, that comes in the competence of the internal auditor. Right? That comes in the competence of the internal auditor. Right? And then just one last one we'll see over here. JK and associates have been appointed as auditor of Venus for 21-22. The audit team consists of J and K, both chartered accountant, as also the engagement partners, and the audit staff consisting of 2 articles. While starting the audit, the engagement partner briefed the team about the audit work, areas to be covered, and various auditing concepts. Various topics like audit plan, audit strategy were discussed in detail. The team was also told about the purpose and implications of various statements and guidance of ICAI. K also briefed the team about the concept of materiality. The team was also explained in detail about the area where benchmark materiality can be applied in case of Venus. Okay, that sets the scope, timing, and direction of the audit that guides the development of the more detailed audit plan, the overall audit strategy. Okay, yes. Yeah, same type of questions over here which were there in individual, now in MCQ. Yes, the establishment of audit strategy, audit plan are not discrete or sequential but are closely interrelated. Correct. And the auditor shall establish an audit strategy that guides in the development of audit plan. Correct. So both are correct. Okay. Dash means the amount set by the auditor at less than materiality. right? That is the performance materiality. Then next one, which of the following is not an example of a benchmark? Total revenue, profit before tax, net asset value, right? None of the above. All three of them can be taken as a benchmark. And guidance notes issued by ICAI provide guidance to the member. Statements are issued by ICAI to secure compliance of by members on certain matters. Guidance notes are recommendatory in nature. Statements are mandatory in nature. All statements are correct. 1, 2 correct. 1, 2, 3 correct. 1, 2, 4 correct. Right, so all these statements are correct. Guidance note provide the guidance, statements secure the compliance, guidance notes are recommendatory, and standards are mandatory in nature, right? Standards are mandatory in nature, right? So this is again a question over there, right, directly regarding the Onda group of hotels. So that's an entire question regarding the special audit. So we'll just do this one and then we'll stop. Okay, just one more added over there, right? Roop and Company are the auditors of Onda group of hotel. This is the first time the firm is auditing an industry in the food and beverage, and it is day one of the audit. Engagement partner along with his team just wants to make a thorough understanding of the entity and environment in order to identify and assess the RMM. The hotel has 2 banquet halls. The documentation available for verification of banquet hall revenue is only the invoice raised by the hotel and some mail conversation of the customer inquiry and the finalization of the price. On audit trial, it was found that the finance approval of the transaction is on the Yes, is only after the invoice is sent to them for the accounting at final settlement. Advance paid by the client are not checked through the finance team. The auditor suspects a weakness in this system. Okay. The auditor also finds a control deficiency in the procurement of the stores. A GRN is not prepared at the time of the receipt of the goods. On inquiry, the management, yes, auditor finds that there exists a system control wherein goods received note is automatically prepared and approved in the system once the quantity and price of the goods is entered against the specific vendor. This entry is on a real-time basis and system does not allow any backdated entry. The auditor inquires as to management as to what is the risk assessment followed by the entity for prevention and detection of the RMM due to fraud and error. The auditor finds that there is no documented risk assessment process. So CRISM ka R not there in the company. With the help of the above facts, answer the following questions by choosing the correct option. What kind of risk is portrayed in the booking of the revenue with respect to the banquet halls? Inherent risk, control risk, detection risk, or the audit risk in the opinion of the financial statements? Right, what type of risk is over there? The control risk, right? They don't have the proper controls regarding what the evidence and on what basis the revenue is recognized. Okay, which of the following statement is incorrect in the context of audit risk? Incorrect. More extensive the audit procedures, the lower is the detection risk. Greater the RMM, the greater the RMM the auditor believes exists, less is the detection risk that can be accepted, and accordingly more persuasive evidence is required. Audit risk also includes the risk that the auditor may express an opinion that financial statements are materially misstated when they are actually not. And RMM is in control risk and inherent risk. Right, so C, right, when they are not and you're saying they are materially misstated, that is not included in the audit risk. In case of procurement of store, the auditor has tested more than one control for the same assertion, right? So though they are not recorded, but they say there is a system control over there. In that case, what should be his reliance on control? Since compensating controls are identified, if tested and evaluated to be effective, auditor can rely. Even though compensating controls are there, since one control is ineffective, the auditor should not rely on control for this assertion. Documentation in electronic medium cannot be accepted. And even though compensating controls are there, since one control is ineffective, the auditor should not rely on the control for this assertion as well as the associated assertion. Right, what does it say? As there is a compensating control and it is found to be effective, the auditor can rely on the control. So this actually comes in the internal control part, rely or not to rely on the control. In the context of 315, which among the following is not a risk assessment procedure? My God, how could you say analytical and observation inspection? We say that, no, OI, those are the risk assessment procedures. So external confirmation is not a risk assessment procedure, right? What should be the course of action of the auditor for the entity not having a documented risk assessment process? The auditor should obtain written representation. The auditor should discuss with the management how risks are identified, addressed, and determined, and whether the absence of the appropriate is appropriate in circumstances or whether it represents a significant deficiency. Auditor should advise the management to document the same and accordingly opine on the same in his report. The auditor shall discuss with the management on how risks are identified and place reliance on the same, as documentation in this context is immaterial. So obviously, B, the auditor shall discuss and how risks are identified, measured, and also the absence. Does it indicate a significant deficiency in internal control? Right? So yes, we have done quite a lot of the MCQs. So I see at least the what do you say, the direct MCQs, we've done all 175 over there. And then these also are some 60 MCQs over there, the case studies, some 60 MCQs of integrated case studies of ICAI. And apart from that, which other MCQs I told you to focus on? Right, the MTP and RTP, right? The MTPs and the RTPs, right? So what do we discuss tomorrow? All that is left, all that, whatever best possible, we'll try to cover it tomorrow. Any particular point, question? I remember you've mentioned about one, but anybody else, any other topic, question? I am going to have my own agenda for discussion. Like I am going to discuss with you government audit tomorrow. Then I'm going to discuss with you the audit of the different types of the entities. Then we'll also look into a little bit of the company audit and the standards, and obviously we'll try to see some correct and incorrect also. MCQs, I think we've seen quite a lot of them today, but apart from that also, any specific heading or anything, yes, you do take it on record and bring it to class tomorrow, right? So thank you and see you all tomorrow.